Okay, so I'm going to start off with my first slide on stakeholders. The HOCO dormitory are workers who are unable to travel to the city to gain services that people in the city are privileged to have. So they're first to stay in the rural communities where they have to work rural jobs. Mainly migrant workers stay there. Our stakeholder are women rural workers, labor workers. They don't have many of the same privileges, and they also are live in a lot of these dormitories. Um, Women rural workers, they don't have, there's not really too many regulations on them, so they work in pretty horrible conditions with very low pay. Organizations, Women's Federation of Shandong Province, both these organizations are public because China doesn't really allow privatizations of companies too much when it comes to these. So Women's Federation of Shandong Province, they're just fighting for women equality, and the Dream Foundation is fighting for education for children in rural communities and also in urban, but a lot of rural. And both of these if both of these are enacted properly, then it would increase gender equality for a number of reasons. There's education, which I'll go into on a later slide. So my slide. Okay, economic inequality. So although many women were encouraged to work in the 1950s, there's a significant decrease in the 80s. Many this reason was mainly due to the fact that the industry was a more popular type of work in the country during the 80s. So it wasn't as attractive a work environment for women generally. It's also still very stressful for men to work in. The shift in the working balance from the 1950s, where women were encouraged to work, was welcomed because the traditional beliefs are Buddhism and Taoism and Confucianism, which promote gender roles. And also, an interesting thing is, according to the Human Rights Watch, about 20% of labor type jobs in China, for when you apply for them, they have men preferred or men only. Let me think. Look at my notes. So the decrease in participation in the workforce dropped by 12% from 1980, mainly due to Chinese industry changing to become more privatized, which led to many job layoffs and low-skilled workers, which many women were because they didn't have another level of education. In the 1980s, male unemployment was so high they started encouraging women to stay home, and many moved to big cities, including young men and women. But the women who stay usually have to get married, and that way they kind of take control of a farm agricultural type work, which is generally low paying, and there's not very many benefits for that, and it's generally considered low skilled. All right, so let's go to the next slide. So wage inequality. The average woman makes 22% less than the male worker, which astonishingly, China is ranked 74th for wage equality in the world. Wage discrepancy is around $6,000, and also women have early retirement by 5 years in China, which means that they can't make as many earnings compared to men throughout their entire life. They also have a tougher time getting aid as being an entrepreneur by the government. Women in China make up a little over a quarter of new entrepreneurs, and for labor type jobs, yet they're less likely to make a profit due to limitations and less likely to get government assistance for starting out this type of business if they're a woman compared to a man. Along with this, many families, when interviewed, around 80% of families in China said they'd rather have a man over a woman as a child because he is more likely to provide more income for the future for the family than a woman is, and are more likely to get financial support from the government due to him being a male over a female. All right, so let's go to my last slide. Okay. Women in rural China. In China, the amount of boys and girls enrolled in school is rather equal, but when it hits secondary level in rural communities, 30% of women drop out and choose to do a more they're considered unskilled labor then, because they don't have not skills that they see many companies require in order to get employed there. So even ones that do get higher education, they mostly do accounting and secretary type jobs, which aren't paid as high compared to other jobs that men will take. an effort to increase productivity in agriculture, China introduced a household responsibility system. This allowed farms to switch from communal farms to family type farms, and this led to a decrease in women's bargaining power and reinforced traditional roles in home based production. Young men and unmarried women travel to big cities for jobs, while married women stay behind and work on these farms and are technically low and are generally low income. Along with this, the collapse of China's communal health system means 80% of these rural populated areas are uninsured. So yeah, so that's why it kind of goes along with the haiku system, the haiku how type housing that I introduced for the stakeholders, because they generally don't have as many like health services and other types of services provided by the government. Where if they had higher education and worked in cities, they would be provided for or would have a better chance of getting. So many young adults that migrate, 30 to 40% of are low skilled young women, and who'll end up in going to labor type fields such as mining, agriculture, textile mills, electronic manufacturing, sex traffic, and either other illegal manufacturing. So, and they don't get any types. They get very little services. They're paid very little. It's not regulated, so they're not going to be watched after. Let's see if I have anything else. I think that's about it.